balance of that? Huh?
I think so.
Versus active and non-active?
No.
There's a delay.
No.
I didn't?
No.
Is yours just micro USB? Micro USB to charge it?
All right, we'll talk about that and then we'll go. All right, so the base of the spine, which is the Muladhara chakra, has 4 pebbles. Everybody know what the pebbles are, right? Hmm?
Yes.
What?
Seed mantras?
Yeah. Now 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the base of the spine, you have what? That blocks the door to Shushuna. This is Shushuna. Right? What do you have?
3.5 months.
You have the 3.5 knot, right? Which is what? It's the Kundalini. Right? And the Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness, right? Now, we went over this many times, but the Shakti power that forms Kundalini, it comes down through Shushuna, right? Right? The soul actually pushes the Shakti power down through Shushuna. Right? The soul pushes the Shakti down in order to form the Kundalini. Now, when it does this, right? It's in the active state, but the difference between this active state and the active state of all of us right now is that this active state is an active state that's coherent, right? It's coherent, or let's say directed. All right? So what happens, when the 3.5 knot comes about, and also this is whole, as we said a couple weeks ago, right? This is a whole state of Shakti. Because why? Why is it a whole state of Shakti?
Because it's aware.
It's aware. It has all awareness. Okay? So when it comes here, it goes into a dormant state, right? When the Shakti power comes here, it goes into a dormant state. And this dormant state is a static state, right? This dormant state is a static state, right? Now, what did we learn about this a couple weeks ago? Dormant, is the D on it? What did we learn about this a couple weeks ago?
That it splits us.
It splits, right?
Splits us up.
Right. When it goes into the dormant state, the Shakti power that brought about this, it splits itself up. It becomes what? Because this dormant state, this non-active state, is the dormant state, right? Right. And so it splits itself up. It becomes dormant and what's another word for active? Dynamic. Right. Dynamic. Not a spelling.
I see.
Dynamic. Right. It becomes dormant and dynamic. Right. Now this dormant dynamic state is the so-called conscious state of man. Can you see that? Now, in the ancient books, they call it awake, right? They call it sleep, right? It's awake, sleep, and dreaming, right? Everybody remember that? Now, what's wrong with this state compared to this state?
It's limited.
It's limited.
It's awareness.
This is limited. Why? Because what happened here? What?
Like you said, it got split up.
It's a split, right?
108. It's 108 pieces.
Right. At least we know 108 pieces. So the active dynamic state of consciousness that we experience is so diffused in a sense that is dynamic, but dynamic with no direction. It lacks this all awareness, so it has no direction. All right. So this is the state of consciousness that we thrive in. All right. So when the Kundalini goes into this dormant state and it begins to produce life, right, on the basic level, that life just, when you look at it, you have, because the life force is what? What is the life force in the body? It's prana. Who said prana? It's prana, right? Because prana is Kundalini, right? So the first prana, right, which is at the base, is apana, right? It does what? It moves down. And it acts as what? Some type of anchor, right? And that's what's inside of the Mulahara.
It's like earth. It's like a grounding.
In an earth, right? You have Vyana that does what?
holds everything together.
But what does it do in the body?
Oh, it goes throughout the entire body. Circulates the entire body.
It just goes out and makes this circle. Sporadic almost, right? With no real direction, right? Then you have the third one, which is what? Samana. And what does it do?
Doesn't it go up and down to the
No, not really.
like this area?
It just stays in the dominant area. It stays in the dominant area and it just circulates as well.
But in the abdominal area only?
Yeah. It stays in the abdominal area. Right.
Like the navel,
Huh?
navel area?
The navel all the way up and just circle. Right? So then you have the fourth one, which is prana. What does prana do?
On its
Huh?
upward?
It goes down and back up. Yeah. It goes down and back up. And then you have the fifth one, right? Which is what? Udana. And what does it do?
Flows to the extremities.
It flows through the extremity. It goes in the head, comes out, goes down to the arms, right? And then it goes down to the legs. It's a lot of sporadic movement, right? So, in life, one of the things about prana, what's the thing that we must do in yoga?
Gain control of it.
Control. And control is a thing that brings about what? What control brings about? Power, yeah, the movement of Kundalini. Well, the awakening of Kundalini, which brings about power. And that power that it brings about is based in what? Wisdom, knowledge. Okay? So what happens is when you look at this, you have the active, you have the real active, which goes into a dormant state, which produce some type of illusion of activity. Which brings about this basic form of life. Right? And what happens is it's only a delusion because it's only a fraction of the power. So in yoga, we're taught to do what? We're taught to bring all the energies back into the mulahara, right? And like I said, you have the ankle, right? And then you have the other four. Right? And when you bring those pranas back down into this, they all synchronize. See? And they become one. And then from there, all okay? So the control of prana, what you want to do is drain the nadis, because all of these 5 pranas circulates where? In the nadi system. Right? That's where they circulate at. So our job is to control that flow, because the nadi system is the thing that forms the many, what? Anybody know? Nobody? The many centers of consciousness. So that we can tap into all the realms of existence, Okay? So what do? We have to drain this of its pranas, its life force, push it back in this, and wake up the Kundalini. Wake up the Kundalini by synchronizing all four petals, right? And then we raise, by synchronizing all four petals, we loosen the anchor. The Kundalini wakes up, and we can push all the Kundalini in one direction, and that's through Shushuna. Okay?
So the synchronizing of the pedal, that's what unlocks the 3.5
That's what unlocks it.
when you wrap this.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the it's sort of like a mathematics in a sense. That's why I asked you all that. I thought I had one over.
It might not be that related to it, but what exactly, do you know the force that the soul uses to push Shakti on?
It's mantra. It's a sound vibration. It's the same thing that the sun uses to push out the thallic rays. All right? It's a sound vibration.
Yet we use that same sound vibration in our practices to push it back down.
Yeah, because in order to synchronize these, you have to use a sound vibration. The Nadis itself, right? The Nadis means to flow, right? A flow of energy, right? But the flow of energy is carried through what?
Not
Sound. Because the energy, the 5 energies are released from Kundalini through sound.
But there has to be I guess, something different that drives it down versus it going up.
No, it's a sound. Within every sound, there's a direction, there's meaning, there's life. The only way I'm communicating to you is that each sound has a particular meaning and power behind it. That's the only way you understand. And remember, within sound you have what? What's the 2 things you have? What's the 2 main things you have in sound?
Nada.
Vibration.
Well, the vibration is the overall thing, but within the vibration, you have a mental force, right? And what else?
A vital,
A vital force.
positive, negative,
Yeah. And when they cross, you have what?
consciousness.
You have consciousness. So that's the thing. All right. So if anyone's good at mathematics, you can put this in a mathematical formula and you see how well it works.
That's why I was asking, because, in math, if there's a formula that tells you how to go up, I guess this is something I pretty much should be asking, because I'm never going to use it, but hypothetically speaking, somebody who gains control of their kundalini, wouldn't they be able to continue pushing it down, even though that might be a negative act?
Why would they want to do that?
I don't know. Why did the devil want to do it? That's why I said it's probably something that's never going to
Only
be done.
ignorance will have them do that. Because one of the main things about this is that when you can drain the body, when you can drain the nadis of this vital force, right? Then you move from what they call you move from a bodily, right? I'm sure you heard this, right? A bodily form of consciousness to what? Anybody know?
Hear it?
Huh?
Subtle?
To a bodiless consciousness. And that's your goal. Okay. So when you can move all life force and push it here, then you move into a bodiless state of consciousness. See, and by doing that, you have this supreme type understanding of things, because you're not limited by the body. That's what samadhi is. When you're going into samadhi, you're not limited by a body. So you go into this state of bodiless consciousness from where you came from. All right. So that's the reason. So when you go, the more you go down, you become grosser. So why would you go through the trouble to push, to take control over this power and go down?
Maybe to serve in those levels?
Well, that's a whole different thing. But then in that aspect, you would, the only reason why you would do that is to create a shade of yourself or project a part of yourself to that. But you wouldn't subject your full consciousness to that, in other words. So, I mean, remember, if you're going down, it becomes more gross. When you go up, you become less gross. All right? You're still gross, but less gross. All right? Any other questions on this? Everybody got it?
Question.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the whole becomes not whole. I think in the last lecture,
Yeah, we talked about it just a few minutes ago. The whole is what? All awareness. The not whole is what? Not aware. That's all it means. In other words, when you embody yourself in the physical body, the astral body, with all these different layers of body, it kind of like, it's kind of like taking a light bulb, like my father used to say, and wrapping it in it gets dimmer and dimmer. So when we place ourselves in this bodily type consciousness, our light becomes dimmer and dimmer, so we can see only so far. The room becomes dark, and we only see a few inches in front of us. So that's another way of looking at our consciousness. When we embody ourselves in this body, the astral body, the etheric body, the auric body, what happens is that we only see a few inches in front of us. We don't see all the rims, hundreds of rims around us that we are totally unaware of. So the whole becomes a not whole because the Kundalini does what? It ties itself up, and then it splits up what? It splits up the consciousness. And what it does is splits up the consciousness through the nadis. And you have how many nadis? And then those nadis link itself with what? The psychic centers. You have 108 psychic centers. So you have 108, at least you know of 108 different centers of consciousness within yourself that you have to take control of.
You said it was more than that, right? But that's
Well, that's the number. There's more Nadi pathways than listed. But, I mean, some people say there was more than 108, but the main yogis stick with 108. The main schools stick with 108. So, you understand that? All right. So we can move on to who all know the main function of the sex center?
The seat of consciousness? The seat of our consciousness?
it's where,
Yes, it's the seat of consciousness.
it's where psychic,
It's the seat of what?
Man's
Of basic consciousness, right? You can say man's consciousness because it's basic.
as beyond,
Water.
you know, which is water. Like one.
What else?
Does it regulated secretion? Does it?
Hmm?
It regulates secretion. Minor stuff.
Yeah, it does. How does that play in with the psychic center?
Passion.
Huh?
It's like the passions.
What?
See,
Speak it.
You brought it up now, tell me. Think about secretion.
Well, the rules the passions and your base desires.
Yes.
that's actually secretion too because our body. So
The reason why, because it is the home of what?
Conscious mind.
Subconscious mind. What does the subconscious mind do?
regulates the whole body.
It regulates functions. All right? It regulates the functions. What does it do? What does it do? Nobody know?
Does it reflect in the Christ center? Or
Huh?
doesn't it have a reflection in the Christ center?
Yes. But because of why? Because of the conscious mind.
It's also the, you're saying it's also the seat of the conscious mind, or
Huh?
it's the seat of the conscious mind as well.
It is the conscious mind. It's the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. But it receives commands from where?
The Christ center.
The Christ center. It receives commands from the Christ center. And the subconscious mind also receives commands from the Christ center too. Alright? Because why? Because the Christ center represents what?
It's the command center
It's a command center, but
for all the bodies.
it also represents what?
The superconscious.
Superconscious. What superconscious mind? Let's see it like that. Alright. What is about the sex center? Oh, somebody said it earlier, right?
It's the seat of creativity.
Well, let's talk about, somebody said it. Who said that? Passion?
Passion. Annalie said.
Yeah. And creativity. So it does a lot, right? Now, it's also the first center for what? To have you to experience what? Psychic powers, right? Because when the Kundalini partially rise, what happens?
You gain psychic ability.
It first
It's
goes.
one of the first things you gain.
Because why?
It first goes through the sex center.
If this is passion, if this is center of passion and emotion, what does that tell you?
It's the seat of the astral body as well.
It's the seat of the astral body. It's connected to the astral body, the bodies. first center to experience psychic powers or psychic abilities. Alright, so when it experiences this, what happens? When it experiences the act of psychic ability, what happens?
It also excites the passion.
Yeah, but what's happening in order for it to experience that? You all should know that.
A greater percentage of kundalini is being sent there.
Let's talk about the mechanics of it. That's part of it. You have a merging of what?
Or the
Guidance and down.
the bodies, the emotional bodies, correct? Or the astral senses with the physical senses.
You have a merging of what? The astral, the astral senses. And the physical senses. Right? And it happens in that center. Okay? So a lot happens in the sex center. Now when that happens, then you have what you said. You have a what?
The exciting of the passion.
Yeah. Because now you become conscious of the astral and the physical, so the sex center is part of your senses, right? Right? Remember the 10 senses that we went over? Is a part of your senses. So what happens is that now you have not only a physical urge, but you have an astral emotional urge too, or astral physical emotional urge. So your passions, your passions are increased, right? Probably tenfold in some cases. That's why you see a lot of people who go around and do all this so-called psychic stuff and psychic readings or whatever. They're out of control. They like ultra liberals. I mean, everybody who experienced psychics before in their life is like that, right? All of us, right? They become ultra liberal. I mean, they just really, really out of control. And mostly because they haven't been taught to control those passions. And that's what happens. Because when these two senses merges, it's just not psychic powers producing, but they may understand 5 of their senses, when really there's 10 senses. And in fact some schools say there's 11 senses. And part of those senses is the sex organs, which produce the passion, which produce the urges. So they become highly sexual, and highly perverted in a sense. That's why one of the first rules of the 8 limbs of yoga is what?
Control sex.
Control of sex.
Brahmachari.
Yeah. Control, heighten your morals. Bring about control over your morals, because the first step towards psychic and spiritual development is raising part of the kundalini to the sex center. So that excites all the passions that's there. So you have to take control over the ojas. Of the life force in the body. It holds the body together. All right? So, anything else? Nothing else?
What's its relations?
What do you mean by tenfold passions?
Several times.
Like,
7 times.
Times 10.
Are you worried about that? Anything else? What you were saying?
I was gonna ask you how it relates to, you know, the nadis that come into it and out of it. And all that. I was gonna ask,
What do you mean how it relates to it?
like,
How does it play out?
like when the soul pushes Shakti down to the base, you know, and the base it splits up, and then it goes into a Shiva state, and it goes back up through each chakra on the way up. And each chakra has a different effect when it splits up. Well, there's sex. How does that relate?
I mean, this is how it relates, because this is the only way you have all of this. This is all, you know, consciousness is distributed through the body, through what? Through the nadis. So the nadis take this up. This is what I thought you all would get. You didn't mention this. It's different from, this is different from subconscious. Anybody know why?
Pretty much different between sub in the past, right? Whereas
Who?
subconscious holds.
It holds on to everything in the past. And it does what? What's the function? It does what? It takes care of what? Involuntary functions. Unconscious is what?
Like an animalistic state.
When you're just asleep, your physical body is
You
just
semi-conscious.
yeah.
Now, the majority of us in here are semi-conscious right now. You may think you're conscious, but you're not all the way conscious. Why is that the case?
Because of the limitation.
Because of our limitations of consciousness, right? Because right now, we have probably 300-400 people here, but you can't see them. Because why? Because of your unconscious state. See? Now, as you develop your psychic vision, you will see all the people. See? So everyone goes around in this semi-conscious state of being, and this is one of the first levels that produce that.
That limitation of unconsciousness.
Yes. Now, also, the sex center work in conjunction with the base of the spine, too. In fact, at one time, most people looked at it as one center because there's just a little tiny inch between them, but it's still worlds, hundreds of worlds apart. You know.
Can you explain again the difference between subconsciousness and unconsciousness?
Subconscious is a function of your mind
Uh-huh.
that records everything, like Augustine was saying, and it also takes care of the involuntary action of, so like it keeps your heart beating,
Mm-hmm.
it regulates that, it regulates your digestive system, it regulates all those things. Consciousness, in order for man to have consciousness, he also have a state of unconsciousness, which always work together. If you have a conscious mind, you also have an unconscious mind, because you're totally unaware of what's going on outside right now. Right? Let's look at it on the physical level. If you're in your house and your kids are playing outside, you're totally unaware of what they're doing, unless you're doing what? Unless you're looking at them and listening to them. You know, now, a person with sensory perception, they can sit in a room and be totally aware. They can connect themselves to that person, and they can be totally aware of that particular person at all times. Okay? So they are not so unconscious as the average person will be unconscious. So all of us go through a state of unconsciousness, all right? Because we're totally unaware, and we're unaware of the astral realms that's here, that's interlocking with this particular room or realm of existence, and we're unaware of the etheric realms, okay? but the astral and etheric realms are taking up the same space right now, but we're totally unaware of that. So we live in a state of conscious and unconscious at all times.
One last question. Can you explain a little bit the merging of the astral and physical senses?
In other words, look at it as in other words, when you begin to develop yourself, right, through pranayama, begin to control the pranas in the body, the life force in the body. What happens in order to bring about a higher awareness, the physical senses merges with your astral senses. You know what the astral body is, right? Okay, so then the senses in that astral body begins to merge with the physical body. When that happens, you produce psychic ability. When the physical senses, when the physical sight merge with the astral sight, then you can see psychically. When the physical smell merge with the astral smell, then you can smell psychically. In other words, it puts an extra length on your smell. Okay, and that's what it means.
The astral body is the emotional body, right?
Well, it's classified as the emotional body.
What else is it?
It's an astral body. It's a less subtle body, or it's a body that's some people call it the ghost body or the devil body, whatever. But what it is, it's a body that's made up of astral substance, but it's still physical, but it's an astrophysical type existence. Okay. So that's what produces that. That's what produces psychic ability. And it usually happens at the sex center. Anything else?
So when someone goes into like a fit of rage, or they are very instinctual, or acting on instinct, is that another form of unconsciousness?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it's a combination of unconsciousness and passion, all in one. Because they may link themselves with embedded emotions, in other words, from past. So, it's from their past, but it's still within them, in other words. Like if they had a rage problem many years ago or many lives ago, and they allow those samskaras to manifest themselves in the present, then they can experience that in a conscious, unconscious, and passionate way. This is just that simple. So that's why, like I said, the first limb of yoga is to control your emotions. Is to bring about a more type of character. Because most of the time in doing any type of real, true Roderick yoga or so-called meditative practices, it will lead to psychosis. Okay, so understand that. You'll go through waves and ups and downs of all type of psychosis. Because what you're doing, you're trying to control parts of your mind that you normally let go, and you just move around. Most people move around in an aimless way, like a leaf through the wind, and they let the wind carry them. But when you get into Raja Yoga, which forces you to concentrate and contemplate and meditate, you begin to try to control those parts of your psyche that's normally you let go. So it brings about bouts. It brings about bouts of some type of passionate moments in anger, sexual escapades, drinking escapades. It brings about these type of things. So you have to you know, that's why the first limb is to do what? Is to control yourself. And you have to bring about things in your life to substitute those periods. You can do it with meditation, you can do it with art, you can do it with music, you can do it with exercising, you can do it with anything. But you have to substitute because it's going to come. The deeper you get into the psychic and spiritual sciences, you're going to have these out of control things happen to you because you're trying to control your mind. You're trying to take control over your total mind, over all the energies within the body. And the energies in the body produce what? Life force, consciousness. So you're going to have these type of psychotic episodes.
Would that include like any kind of physical ailments or?
It could be, yes. A lot of times. Especially if you don't know what you're doing. You know, yeah.
I was just gonna ask you said that most students end up staying here thinking they're much more advanced
Of course
than they really
do.
are because
Yes.
they have really experiences and they think they're
Yeah, of course they do. You know, this is the plateau for most students. They don't leave this because they can't get over it. But then some of them go into, oh, I can see through the third eye, you know, and but yet they put it down and go drink 2 bottles of liquor, and you know that something's wrong, you know. Yeah.
It says in here that this is also the main center that has manifested because of the sex.
Mainly because of the sex center, because the sex center does what? What does the sex center do? It produces what? What?
Well, okay, I'm gonna read from here because I should answer here. It's the Bindu of the sector creates a wave of endless potential that makes itself available for the sonic vibrational force at play here to mold and shape this flow of energy frequencies into levels of consciousness that manifest the quality of power.
It produces light. I
Those
would
are
have
shaped
a
up.
long way to just say it produced light.
Well, I read it. I just read it.
I was in the zone when I wrote that. But it produced light. You know, it produced light. So what is life? It produced all of this around us. You know? So that's why you have to be very, very careful, and you have to take these things seriously. You know, because you'll go into these, and you know, into these cravings, and you know, you'll unlock passions that if you're not ready to control, it will control you. Okay, so that's what you have to be careful about. What else? Anything else? Go
I have
ahead.
a question. Is like in hypnosis,
Mhm.
where someone is given a suggestion to do something that they may not be consciously aware of, is that done through the sex center?
I don't know. It's a possibility that it could be. But remember too that if someone puts you in a hypnotic state, number one, you let them do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, that they can only have you do what's already there. In other words, so I mean, you turn your, you know, so I don't think they can have you go, and if you have a strong thing against being a murderer, they can't make you murder. If you have a strong thing against anything that you against, I don't think they can let you do that. Because why? Because in order to go and carry out those acts, the samskaras must be brought up. The subtle megabytes of energy within you, within your auric body, have to be stimulated and given the power to do that. Okay? I think in the hypnotic world, I think they say that. They don't say it just like I said, but they can't make you do anything that you wouldn't normally do, in other words. You know?
So isn't that another thing? Since it is our seat of consciousness, it's also like the seat of most of our samskaras. You know what I'm saying?
In a sense, yeah, those 3 lower chakras, yeah, because that's where mankind's consciousness is.
So just
Base, sex, and soul vessel.
So does that kind of describe the bulging? I'm just throwing it out there. The bulging shape of the aura. How it's kind of most of its mass is around the lower centers.
Could be, then it could not be. You know, so it's a whole nother subject. Because you'll see that in higher beings too. But that doesn't mean that's where the consciousness is.
Yeah.
I mean, the shape, the ovoid shape of an egg is a holy shape, and they say it's seen everywhere throughout the universe. So no, I don't, because the consciousness of an avatar, you may, if you when an avatar, he or she goes into a humanoid form, they really produce no aura. But if they did produce an aura, you'll see the ovoid shape. So no, I don't know if that's necessarily so. But what you do see, you see a lot of activity in that region. You know, you see a lot of activity in that region. You see the swirling, all the different colors, and dark and ugly and whatever. You know. In that region of the aura. And also you see the extreme opposite of it too. The bright colors and the rich bright colors as well. Okay, anything else?
So what happens to the sex center during sex? Is Kundalini raised to that center of the back or the front of the body, and is it?
Well, it is risen. It's in fact, semen is a form of Kundalini. It's a rich physical aspect of Kundalini. Semen. So. Same thing with the woman's orgasm. It's a form, it's an aspect, it's an essence of Kundalini and stuff. So now, is it in the front of the body? You know, it's all in intent. Okay, it's all in intent. It's the reason what you're doing it for. All right. Now, OJAS, we can relate OJAS to is actually released in a sense from this center. But this is not the home of OJAS. Okay? But you can build up and release OJAS. And OJAS is not semen.
So it's released through.
Yeah. Okay, so understand it. It's the essence of the semen, but it's not semen. Where does OJAS belong in the body? Anybody know?
In the brain.
The brain. So OJAS belong in the brain. So remember that. Most people get this wrong. OJAS feeds the brain. But because of our state of being, we have a buildup of OJAS where?
In the sex.
In the sex region. Okay. So, but OJAS fall here, and that's what helps create the passion. But one of the first exercises they give you in yoga is to do what? One of the first physical exercises. Do what?
Stand on your head.
Stand on your head. To do what? To
Reverse
drain
the
the OJAS back to the brain. Okay? That's why that hatha yoga exercises to do that. Is to, because they know that all of us are full of passion. So they try to drain physically drain the Ojas back to the head. Okay? So you can relate this to the sex center, but remember it is not in the sex center. It's not lodged there. It's not kept there. All right? Because Ojas does what? What's one of the main functions of Ojas? So we talk about it in relation to the sex center because of that. Because what does water do in the body? Water does what for the body? It sustains the body. And that's why we relate it. That's one of the main reasons why we relate it to the body, because water sustains the body. Ojas literally holds the body together. Okay, and then the Vyana prana or the Apav Bhutas, the cosmic element, it sustains the body. It sustains all liquids in the body. It's the thing behind all liquids in the body. Ojas, of course, is described as a liquid, but it's not necessarily a liquid. It's an essence within all the tissue of the body. Okay?
Can't say it's like prana? What's it?
Yeah, it's a form of prana. Like I said, it's kundalini. It's a rich form of kundalini. Okay? It's a rich form of kundalini. Yeah.
I've always wondered how standing on the head drains Ojas to the brain. Is there a physical pathway that goes up to the brain?
Of course, everything goes to the brain. All nadis do what? They terminate at where?
Christ center.
They terminate at the Christ center, which is within the brain. Yeah, so it feeds the brain. All nadis terminate there. Yeah.
Like, I've looked at the human anatomy. I've never seen anything that goes from the brain to the testes and back.
Look again. Look again.
Blood vessel.
The headstand is like a rush of blood.
Blood,
Your
yeah.
eyes get red.
When you breathe in, how much of that oxygen goes to the brain according to anatomy physiology? Do you know?
At least 40%.
Huh? No, 20%.
20%.
At least that's what I was taught. So that's a lot. When the brain only the average brain weigh how much?
7 pounds.
5 to 7 pounds. See, so why 20% go in there? So everything is connected to the brain. You can't move a finger, you can't have no feeling without the brain and the spinal column. So everything is connected to the brain. Okay?
Just like the base set in the base chakra, there's the 3.5 knot. Is there an energy configuration? There has to be in the
The what?
sex center as well, right? Like a knot. Once you synchronize the petals.
All the chakras are called what? Anybody know another name for the chakras?
Nadi knots?
Great.
The Nadi knots. All the chakras are described as Nadi knots. Okay? So when you see something say Nadi knots, that means a chakra, a vortex center of energy. So the actual nadis that travel through the chakras, the bhutas. Right? And all of these create a knot. so many parts, this down to so many parts, and this down to so many parts. But all of them create a knot.
So is there a known configuration for the, like, you know, vocalized, verbalized configuration for the set? Kind of like at the base, we say the 3.5 knot. Is there something?
No, just the symbols that they have. It's called, all of them are called a Nadi knot, but each one has a symbol. Anyone have any of the ancient symbols here?
I haven't this page.
No. I
No,
didn't put
they
it.
like the base of the spine has an elephant with 7 trunks. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like 7 trunks and all of that. Anyone have one?
Looking at it, oh, I forgot.
Anyone have a Serpent Power book on it?
Yeah.
Let me have a Serpent Power. What they do, they have symbols. The symbols on the Serpent Power book, if you look at it, they give all of those mean something.
And the shape.
Yeah,
I think the sex is like the crescent with the circle.
yeah. This, all they mean something. See how these flowers loop out, and then you have some looping in. Right? That's the conscious and unconscious and subconscious mind. That's what it actually means. And when you or what you call it?
The divas?
The VJs is they actually the diva of each. You have a host, and then you have you have a diva, and then you have a host of divas, and that's what those symbolize. This right here symbolizes the sound, or BJ, the main sound of the chakra. And then of course this represents something. All right, this is the symbol of water. This whole thing represents water. These are all the petals. So each one of them describes something different, and they describe an entity. Huh?
Can you pass it around?
Yeah. Each one of them describe an entity, some type of entity. Now the entity itself, of course, in ancient times they described energy as an entity. Okay, but really it was a flow of energy. It was a flow of energy under your control.
Is it because they could see the energy? Is that what they refer to as a
Huh?
I say, is it because they could see the energy? Or is that what they refer to it as?
Well, they had to relate it to something that everyone else would relate to, but everyone else will understand. You know, it's just like now in these days, we are throwing away all the old symbolism and replacing it with things that we understand today. Like if I was telling you some months ago, if you go back to the Holy Bible and you read the story of Elijah and Elisha, and when Elijah turned over his cloak to Elisha, right? And then they talk about the chariot of fire that came down. Actually not a chariot of fire. It doesn't describe a chariot of fire, not in our modern times. It describes some type of spaceship being propelled with some rocket boosters. That's what it sounds like. So today we're replacing that old symbology with something that we understand. Because who would jump on a chariot of fire? You wouldn't do it. But the way the whole thing sounds, that the fire was pushing the chariot, not that the chariot was on fire. And it doesn't make sense. In today's terminology, when you look at Greek mythology, what they call mythology, you're looking at all the different weapons they had. It makes sense now. You know, they had these rods that push out laser beams. It makes sense now. All these things make sense now because why? We have rods or machinery that push out beams. We can shoot missiles and stuff like that. But back then it didn't sound like some type of magic. But now we see that it really wasn't magic. They probably had some type of advanced weaponry. Okay. So that's all. It's a form of energy. Anything else that we can look at?
That's the section.
I'm trying to keep it simple. Without going too deep into anything.
These chakras.
Huh? I mean, there's all different kinds of aspects.
Bring it on.
How does the function of the sex center differ if Kundalini is raised up the front of the body or the back of the body?
What?
How does the functioning of the sex center differ when Kundalini is raised up the front of the body and when up the back of the body?
That's a whole different lecture.
Okay. So like in regards to lesson number 10, the passions, does it, if it's raised up the back of the body, does it burn up the passions?
Yeah, well, in order to go raise Kundalini in the back of the body, you will have to go through the proper process. You can never raise Kundalini, to my understanding, fully in the front of the body. See? And what did I tell you about in order to raise Kundalini in the back of the body, you have all the what together?
You trained all the nadis?
Yeah, but it goes in whole. It goes in a whole state. In the front of the body, it's not going in a whole state. It's separate. It's broken up. That's why the passion still is amplified hundreds of times. You may control it, but you control it for your desire, but not necessarily in one single-minded effort. In other words, that's why you can have when they're trying to do something quick and easy and for evil reasons. But when you pushing Kundalini through the back of the body, the back of the body is devoid of glamour, passion, desire. All those things are controlled. And you're going up through Shushuna. In the front of the body, you're not going up through Shushuna. You're going on the outside, through the outside Nadis, which accentuate glamour and all these things. And then you're trying to activate this power through a concentrated beam of energy from the outside in. So that's the difference. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a Shushuna outside.
Right.
Okay. And on page 15, I give some of the main 8 impurities, I would call them. It's of all the different passions in that particular chakra. And the yogis philosophies tell you to kill out all of these things, to destroy them, to control them, in other words. There's a book. It's wrote in a very complex manner, but very simple. It's called Light on the Path. Anybody ever read that book?
Oh, by Mabel Collins?
Huh? Yeah, by Mabel Collins. And it's a little tiny book, but it's a real good. Until someone take it and break it up for you. But in there, she say, kill out desire, you know. And she tell you to kill out all these different things. And she goes into it a little bit, but not to the point where you will know that that's what she's doing. It's a very, very good book. There was a commentary did on the book in the first 2 or 3 chapters of Advanced Course by Yogi Ramacharaka. And he goes into it and describes what she's talking about. And in order for her to have written that, she had to have risen the power of Kundalini and experienced it. Okay? And then also she was a good writer. In fact, she was a writer. She was a
Theosophist.
she was a theosophist. She was a world-known theosophist and also a writer, you know, too. She wrote several novels that was very popular.
Did Alice Bailey write commentaries on it too?
Hmm?
Didn't Alice Bailey write a commentary on it too?
I think she did. I think Alice Bailey did too. Or Anna Bassan.
I think Annie was.
Anna
Commentary
Bassan.
on the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. She wrote a commentary on several things too. In fact, Anna Bassan also wrote a commentary on the nature final forces too.
I have a question about the sex chakra being also where creativity is.
Mhm.
So if the goal is to control the emotions, I suppose, that come out of the sex chakra and I guess everywhere else, how does that affect creativity?
Affected. I think if you control yourself, then you're still gonna be creative. I think you can be more creative if you bring things under control.
Mm-hmm.
You know the problems with a lot of artists in these days, which I think is stupid. This is my opinion.
Mhm.
But that they, they have this inherited ability. Because I'm an artist too.
Mhm.
You know, they have this inherited ability to be very creative, and usually it's from a child. But then they grow up and become teenagers, and they think they got to take drugs in order to enhance it, which is
Yeah.
I can't understand that to save my life. And I watch a lot of because I was all into art and into sculpture and paint and all of that, and I watched all the friends of mine go into drugs, and I said, "Why are you going into drugs?" And I had to tell them, we were doing this when we were kids, so it can only get better, right? But a lot of them find themselves going into these, taking these drugs in order to enhance their creativity. So no, if you control your creativity, it only gets better because you can concentrate your artwork or your talents in one direction or several directions if you need.
And to develop creativity, it would help to control all forces from.
Yeah, they have to control all forces because it is visualization that taps into the molding and shaping of energy. See, so if you have a strong visualization already, if you create natural control of the energy. so you should be able to go one step further and control those subtle energies to a point of moving it through your body. See, so it can only get better. It can't get worse. I mean, but if you go and start taking drugs, of course, it's going to get worse. You're going to hinder yourself. You know. So a lot of people think when you go and start controlling stuff that you lose your creativity. No, that's not so. That's that in fact, a person who's creative already have a high level of concentration in most cases because they can spend hours and hours on end on a particular thing, which gives them the edge over everyone else anyway. You know, you find someone who's good at music, you'll find that they may spend 8, 9, 10 hours on music. So they have a high degree of concentration already. Or any type of artwork, they spend hours and hours and hours on that. So they have a high degree of concentration than most people. So if they get into Raja Yoga or anything, it's only going to enhance their creativity. Okay? Okay, any other questions? Next week we can go into the
Solar plexus?
solar plexus center. Alright. You guys can read ahead so you can, worst case,